Welcome to Growing Faith Resources. I'm Katie, a certified Christian educator, and I'm here to help you figure out what's going to work best for your congregation. Today, we're going to be talking about the Adult Leaders Guide from our curriculum, Follow Me, Biblical Practices for Faithful Living. So let's take a look. Before we dive into the Adult Leaders Guide, let's review Follow Me, Biblical Practices for Faithful Living. This curriculum is practice-based, and it has 36 different practices for you to choose from. We define practices as things Jesus did, taught, or told us to do. And we see where these practices come from in the Bible and how Christians have engaged in these practices over the centuries. This curriculum has something for everyone in your congregation. So to learn more about it, you can watch our overview video, which I'll link in the description below. So now, let's talk about the Adult Leaders Guide. The Adult Leaders Guide is the piece you're going to use when you're working with a group of adults. This piece works in tandem with the Adult Reflection Guide. The Adult Reflection Guide is a piece that every participant needs to have, and it's in full color. The Leaders Guide allows you to use this Adult Reflection Guide in a group setting, and the Leaders Guide is in black and white. Within this guide, you're going to find all kinds of helpful tips for the leader to pull together a session, right? To talk more about this practice in a group setting. Additionally, one of the great things that's being used with this curriculum are videos. There are actually going to be videos about every single practice, and there's more than one. And these make great discussion starters to really enhance your group setting. So there'll be a minimum of 5 videos for each practice. The first video will be an overview of the practice, and then we'll break things down session by session. So with each aspect of the practice that you study, there'll be a video about that specific aspect. And all of these videos are done by our foundational essay authors. And these are the people that wrote the essays in the back of the curriculum, which we'll talk more about later in this video. And so this is a great opportunity to really dive in deep and really understand each practice in detail and where it's found in the Bible. This is a great way to have a video incorporated into your session. Let's talk about what's inside this guide. The first thing you're going to notice is the practices overview. This first page is going to talk, that you see in the curriculum, is going to talk about the Follow Me curriculum as a whole, what it is and how it works. The next page is going to be a summary of the practice that you're studying, and a summary also of the aspects that you're going to be learning about in this particular practice. So these 2 pages are a great place to start and to get a good overview of the things you're going to be exploring in this particular unit or practice. Next up is the session plan and session flow. So let's talk about the plan itself first. Each session plan comes with its own overview, which has really helpful information for the leader, background information, information on the biblical text that you'll be using for that session, session preparation, so any extra prep that you need to do, beyond simple basic things like making sure that there are Bibles and pencils and that kind of thing. And then there's also a note about the supplies that you'll be using. You're going to notice in this curriculum that supplies are actually listed next to each activity in the session plan itself. So that way you know exactly what materials you need for whichever activities you choose to use. The final thing you're going to want to pay attention to throughout this guide is the asterisks. So there are various asterisks next to different activities, and these are fantastic teaching tips to help you get the most out of the material and to help maybe adapt things slightly or make things more challenging or easier, or think outside the box with a specific activity as you're working with the different people in your group. After that, we get into the actual flow of each session. The session flow here is great. It starts with, of course, the beginning, which is getting started. And this is a gathering time, and it may include an opening ritual that you will use for the entire duration of the practice. After that, you're going to introduce the practice. So what's this practice and what does it look like? How do we define it? And then you're going to find the practice in the Bible. And this is where we look to the Bible to tell us about this practice. Where do we find it? Who has utilized it? Did Jesus talk about it? Is it mentioned in the Old Testament or the New Testament? So this is where you get a lot of your biblical scholarship. After that, we're going to find the practice then and now. And so this is where we look at the historic part of this practice. How have we seen it used? Maybe the early Christians, how did they engage in this practice? Or how do we see it used today? Who uses this practice today? Then after that, we get to practice the practice. So this is the part where we get to try on the practice as a group and see, how does it feel? What does it feel like? How do I do it? It's like trying on a new pair of clothes. Then after that, we are following Jesus. And this section is just our blessing and sending, because we shouldn't just be studying about a practice in a classroom. We should be engaging in this practice and using it in our day-to-day life, and really incorporating it into the fabric of our faith. If a session has resource pages, then they'll be found at the end of that session. Resource pages are just supplemental materials that you will find enhance your experience with various activities in your session. Not every session will have supplemental materials, but the ones that do, you'll find them following that session plan. These resource pages can include all kinds of different things like a worksheet for your participants to fill out, maybe something to read or some liturgy, something to sing. It just kind of depended on what that session needs. It'll have the necessary pages that go with. You'll want to make sure your participants get copies of these if that's what's needed, depending on what kind of activity you're doing. It should be pretty clear from the session instructions how each of these resource pages are used in that particular session. The final piece in the Adult Leaders Guide is the foundational essay. This is the backbone of the curriculum. It's an essay that was written by a biblical scholar, and many of these scholars have written many books and they teach at the seminary level, so they're a real expert in this particular practice that they're writing about. This is going to provide you with a lot of great depth and background. They're going to talk about what this practice means. They're going to share where it's found in the Bible, and it just goes into a lot more detail. So this is really great background information for your leader. It's going to really equip them to feel like they know what they're talking about when it comes to this practice. And additionally, you're going to find this foundational essay in the Adult Reflection Guide as well, so your participants can read this, because it's great for personal reflection on the practice as well. So I hope you'll take the opportunity to read this, because there's just going to be a lot of good gems in here about the practice that you're engaging with. And it's these authors who are going to be speaking in the videos that I mentioned earlier that are going to be part of the adult curriculum. And you'll find those videos on this channel as well. So I hope that you will take the opportunity to take a deeper dive into each practice by reading the foundational essay. That concludes our information on what is found in the Adult Leaders Guide. Stay tuned for our video on the Adult Reflection Guide, which is the piece that goes along with this Leaders Guide. If you'd like to learn more about this or other pieces, you can visit our website, www.pcusastore.com/followmecurriculum. And there's a whole bunch of information there, including a sample that you can download and lots of other information that you can read up on. You can also watch our Follow Me playlist, which has a bunch of other videos that go into depth about all the other pieces, and I'll try to link that in the description below. If you like what we're doing, then consider subscribing and hitting the bell so that you know when we post new videos, especially if you're watching out for the videos that go along with each practice. I hope that you find this helpful as you are engaging in ministry. I want to thank you for watching, and God be with you.